everybody. Welcome back to the Tipsy Ghost. We are your tipsy hosts, Sarah, and Lindsay.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hi. We're still in spooky season.
Spooky season.
This is our last episode of spooky season.
Mm-hmm.
Spooky season.
Therefore, thank you. Therefore, we are still in our not so spooky costumes.
Spooky season.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And now you can't do it any other way.
Hope I'm done.
Lindsay, could you please explain to the crowd, the listeners, what you're wearing?
Crowd. So I wanted to just wear a spooky shirt, a Halloween shirt, which I am wearing a Hocus Pocus. And I was told that I had to dress up. So I am wearing Boydston's Willow cloak. And by Willow, I mean Taylor Swift's Willow video.
This is my dress and her cloak is the outfit I was in when I performed my recorder recital to Willow.
Together we are Willow.
Without your cloak, you are a peasant.
Just a peasant. Just a peasant girl in a peasant world.
And Sarah is a Muppet.
Thank you. A purple Muppet. I quite like it. In case you're curious and you don't know this yet, you can actually watch the video now on Spotify. So you're welcome. You get to see this in all of its glory.
What's the McDonald's character that's purple?
Oh yeah.
G.
I almost said Snuffleupagus.
I wanted to say Grinder, but I know that's not right.
Grimace.
Grimace.
I'm Grimace.
So close. You're
Grinder.
welcome. That helped.
I wanted to say like Rotto. So none of us were right.
I was right. Grimace.
Grimace is right. No, she was right. Sarah is in a lavender haze.
/Grimace. It was my fail/win. I don't know. I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about something that is like, what is something that you find embarrassing that really shouldn't be? And if you can't think of anything, I'm going to give you a couple that people have said that I feel like everybody can relate to.
Okay, so something happened to me recently.
Okay.
I went to Aldi. And
Yeah.
it turns out they weren't quite open yet. Okay, so they open, these are just hypothetical numbers. Say they open at 9 and I got there at 8:50, but I thought that they opened at 8. And so I walked up to the door and the doors didn't open.
And it was confident, I bet.
I was mortified.
Did you leave? You left.
I made it so much more awkward. I laughed. I talked to myself.
Yes. Yes.
My mouth was moving as I talked to myself
Oh,
walking
my
back to my
God.
car. And then I was like, stop doing that.
They're watching you.
What were you saying to yourself?
I was just saying, oh my God, this is so embarrassing.
Oh,
I can't
okay.
believe I did that.
You're having an internal monologue, but out. Like
Yes.
external.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I could see that
Yeah.
easily being embarrassing.
What are yours? Let's move on to not me.
Oh, okay. The first thing that easily comes to mind is like when it's raining and you got your damn wipers going full speed
Oh, yeah.
and it's like between low and high. That is so embarrassing.
And they're like,
and I have to
"Oh,
put it on high.
This girl's not comfortable in
And they're like-
weather.
They're like, ooh,
She's not
amateur
from
driver.
here.
I have legitimately never thought about anybody's wipers ever in my life.
Ever?
Ever.
How?
I'm saying that to reassure you. I have never looked at other drivers and been like,
Oh,
their wipers are on high and they need to be on low.
no. And here's why I feel like that, because I think that about other people.
Oh.
When they have their wipers on high
I
and
have
it's not
never
raining
thought
that
that.
bad. And I'm like, amateur. But then I do it.
I would say something embarrassing that I do a lot is I am clumsy. I run into things constantly and I apologize to things.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I
Like a
run
chair.
I run into walls. I run into doors. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. And I'm like, Lindsay, that's an inanimate object. You don't need to apologize.
Yeah. I do that every time too, because it's like the natural reaction to be like, sorry. And then you look around and it's a door or a frame and you're like, oh.
So yeah, stupid things, embarrassing things like that. I am just clumsy. I cannot control my limbs.
I went to Reddit because I had to come up with a few things, and
God bless Reddit. I love
I
Reddit.
love Reddit. But obviously these are so easy to relate to. Turning around and walking the direction you just came from.
I do that all the time.
That's me when I have to leave the Aldi door.
Well, yeah, I forget where I'm going and I'll start going one way. I'm like, no, I'm not going that way. I'm going this way.
Do you pretend like you did that on purpose? Like, oh, I got to go back this way. For
No,
that.
I just
make
like
a big
turn
show
around.
of it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and then
Nobody will notice.
Yeah. I do that all the time.
makes everybody notice.
This one I personally can relate to. When your throat does that gargling thing, it sounds like a burp, but it's like a weird noise coming from the back of your throat. When
The
you're trying to
goblin.
talk.
I'm
The
sorry.
goblin.
Every moment of every day
I was going to say.
that you guys point out all the time.
We are so used to the goblin noise. It doesn't even register on the radar.
This one says taking too long to put your change away when there's like several people behind you.
I do hate that.
Throw out my purse, leave.
I just
I'll
leave,
sort
step
it
to the
out later.
side. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do get that.
But you also asked us about things that make you mad, like irrationally mad.
Okay, when people post on Facebook and say, we did a thing.
Vague posting.
When they post, it makes me irrationally angry. We did a thing. Okay, say it.
What thing
Just say
did you do?
what you did.
Aside from the elderly and those with disabilities, people that walk slow and that I can't get around because it would be like I'd have to like race between two people. I can't stand it when people walk slow.
Yeah, it angers me too. And my husband, and he's very blunt, and he just loudly says, "Excuse me, we need to walk."
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Also, haven't brought this up at work because it happens all the time. But when people don't clear the microwave when they're done using it.
Sarah, how dare you?
She does it all the time.
You know what would help you remember to clear the microwave? If you took some Magic Mind.
You know what? You're probably right. I have been taking it, so we'll try it again next time we work together and see if I can remember.
Boyson, you need to report back. You need to let us know if she is clearing the microwave because she's taking the mental performance shot.
Well, it turns out maybe I won't care as much now because some of the ingredients in Magic Mind just make you deal with things a little better. Your head's more clear. You can deal with things better. Maybe you don't get so irrationally angry about stupid stuff like that.
Because you have more energy.
More energy, more cognitive focus. My brain can work on other things.
My brain can worry about other things besides clearing the microwave.
Yes.
My favorite thing about this shot is that I can bring it with me to work. So I can drink my coffee in the morning and then take my little shot once I get to work to make sure that I clear that microwave for you.
Thank you for clearing the microwave. Yeah. I have my little can of energy drink or my chai tea and my Magic Mind. Drink them both. Happy person all day long. And truthfully, it is really helping. I have more energy throughout the day and I don't have that crash in the afternoon. It's just sustained energy.
One fun thing about Magic Mind is that they are so confident in their product that they will refund you 100% no questions asked for up to 100 days after buying. So just keep that in mind if you're interested in this product. This is something we actually drink and we really do love it. We have a limited time offer that you can use now that gets you up to 48% off your first subscription or 20% off your one-time purchase with the code TipsyGhostLT20 at checkout. That's TipsyGhostLT20.
You can also claim it at magicmind.com/tipsyghostlt.
Okay. Are you ready to hear a story about true crime?
True crime. And the answer to that, in case you couldn't tell, was yes.
Well, I know you have asked me to stay in Germany when I talk about my stories.
Always.
And so I have.
Awesome.
You cannot leave.
I Googled a true crime story in Germany, and this is the first one that came up, and I can see why now after reading this story, but it is surprisingly somebody that I've never heard of, and so I'm interested to see if you guys have heard of him too. His name is Peter Kürten.
No, but I'm not sure how I would have heard of a German killer.
Well, he is a serial killer.
Uh-huh.
And his nickname is the Vampire of Dusseldorf.
I have never heard of Dusseldorf.
Wait. Why have I heard of Dusseldorf before?
Have you really?
It's a town in Germany.
Oh, you know what? This is off the wall. It's a Dr. Seuss book called Hooray for Diffendufer Day.
Wow, so close to Dusseldorf. You know what?
It's like Doofenshmirtz or something.
And I mean this lovingly, but sometimes German words do sound like...
They sound made up.
Made up words. So, Peter Kürten, he was born May 26th, 1883 in Molheim am Rhein.
His brother was Chris Blinds.
Kürten, I got it. It's spelled different, so it took me a minute.
I was not there at all, so thank you.
Peter Kürten and Chris Blinds.
I was like...
So, this was a very small town on the right bank of the Rhine River. And as you know, I love the Rhine River.
You floated down it.
I did float down it. His family was extremely poor, and sadly, his parents were very abusive. So he grew up with 12 siblings. He and his 12 siblings lived in a one-bedroom apartment with his parents. Well, his parents were both alcoholics, and things go from bad to worse because his father would frequently get drunk and abuse his wife and children. He would even sometimes force his wife to have sex with him while his children watched. So as bad as this sounds... I want to tell you right now that things are about to get much, much worse from here on out.
I mean, murder is coming.
Yes. But
like
I'm
winter?
What?
Like winter?
I mean, she said serial killer.
Murder is coming.
Murder is coming.
Yes.
It's the true
It's
crime.
happening, and this is my warning to everybody listening. If you are triggered by sexual assault, by abuse and child abuse, I'm telling you ahead of time, this is maybe not for you.
This is your trigger warning.
Correct. Peter's father, he went to prison for 18 months in 1897 for repeatedly assaulting his 13-year-old daughter. Shortly after this happened, Peter's mother separated from his father, remarried, and relocated with the children to Dusseldorf. In 1888, Peter was now 5 years old and attempted to drown one of his playmates. 4 years later, he became friends with a local dog catcher who lived in the same building as his family. So, Boydston, I'm going to want you to close your ears.
Oh, sing Rebecca Black in my head.
Okay. But the dog catcher was known to torture and kill the animals that he caught. And shortly after, Peter also began torturing and killing the animals, which we all know is a classic sign of what is yet to come.
We have sign number 1.
Correct.
I'm going to be looking for the other 2.
Later in his life, Peter claimed to have committed his first murders at the age of 9 when he pushed someone that he knew was unable to swim off of a raft. Then, when another child was attempting to rescue the drowning boy, Peter held his head underwater so that they both drowned.
Age 9?
Yes.
Wow.
The deaths were ruled accidental by authorities. At the age of 13, Peter now has a girlfriend. He and the girlfriend are doing some things, okay? But she doesn't want to go all the way with him.
Yeah, because she's 13.
Yeah. In order to relieve some of his own sexual tension, he resorts to acts of bestiality. Gross. 1899. Peter later confessed to investigators that he had picked up an 18-year-old girl and convinced her to have sex with him. He then strangled her and left her for dead. No one ever came forward from this story, so they're not really certain if that was true, but this is what he says happens later on. What is true, however, is that we can clearly see that he's escalating and requiring more and more violent acts to fulfill his sexual fantasies. Shortly after this, he's arrested for fraud and sentenced to 4 years in prison.
I think prison's a good place for him.
Yes.
Since he's, killed somebody already.
Right. A couple people, sounds like.
A couple of people, and also been a real dick to his girlfriend.
Yep. After he was released in 1904, he was drafted into the Imperial German Army.
Oh, that sounds like a good place for him.
Maybe, except for he was deployed to the city of Metz and deserted it shortly after he arrived.
Oh, I was being totally sarcastic.
He went AWOL?
He did.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
He does not seem like he cares anything about authority.
No. Absolutely not. He began setting fires, mostly to barns.
This was supposed to be a 2, but I held it up.
That is a number 2. Sorry for those who are only listening. That is a number 2. We're looking for number 3.
Mostly to barns so that he could, quote, burn sleeping tramps alive, unquote.
Whoa.
Are they in barns?
Apparently.
I mean,
he would set fires and then watch from a distance as emergency services attempted to extinguish the fires. He later admitted that he committed these acts for his sexual excitement, as he does.
So he's a sadist on top of all this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You're getting there.
Whew. He sounds delightful.
This is just the beginning.
We haven't even gotten to the real murder.
After deserting the army, he was tried by the military court and convicted of several charges, including arson and desertion. He went to prison again from 1905 to 1913 in a prison called Münster.
Like the cheese?
Like the cheese. He spent most of his time in solitary confinement for insubordination, which he later admits that he did on purpose because he could go and be in his own sexual fantasies by himself.
Like he wanted to be in solitary confinement?
Yes.
Interesting.
Okay, so now we've established that Peter is pretty much a terrible person, but as I mentioned earlier, things go from bad to worse, and here's where we go. The first confirmed murder that was committed by Peter Kürten was May 25th, 1913. May 25th, 1913. During a burglary attempt in a tavern, he came across a 9-year-old girl named Christine Klein, who was asleep in her bed.
Oh, no, Peter.
He strangled the girl and slashed her throat with a pocket knife.
Damn it, Peter.
Damn it, Peter. I'm just going to make a blanket statement about his crimes from here on out. He finds a lot of sexual pleasure in these acts of violence, and they go into detail about what he does after these crimes are committed. I'm sure you can probably guess what happens.
Not good things.
Just know that this is what's absolutely driving him to do these types of crimes, is all sexually motivated. So I just didn't think I needed to repeat that over and over, especially when it comes to kids. So just keep that in mind. The next day, he returns to a tavern nearby, kind of directly across the street from the tavern he was the day before. He said that he went there so that he could hear the locals talking about what he did because it excited him. 2 months later, he breaks into a home in Dusseldorf where he finds 17-year-old Gertrude Franken, asleep in her bed. He strangles her, attempts to kill her, but she survives.
Wow. Okay.
Days later, he's arrested for more arson and burglaries and sent to prison for 6 years. Once released, he relocated to Altenburg, where he lived with his sister. Here, he met Augusta Scharf, and they began dating. 2 years later, they were married, and for a few years, he actually lived what seemed like a pretty normal life. He was working, his wife was working, everything was fine. He didn't get into any trouble. But we all know that doesn't last. He returned to Dusseldorf and shortly after began having affairs with many, many different women. Once his wife found out what was going on, one of the women reported to police that he seduced her. And I kind of found this interesting, but he got 8 months in prison for attempted seduction and threatening behavior.
What does that mean?
Great question, but that's what it was. She said he seduced me, and that's the reason why we had an affair, and then they arrested him.
Do you think it's like soliciting, but in a fancier way?
But
Maybe?
what I'm finding fascinating is that he gets 8 years for this, and he's killed how many people already?
Gotten
and
like 6.
Literally not even gotten caught for killing them.
That's why I found it interesting. Like, okay, we're just going to breeze over all this other
But
stuff.
seducing someone gets you in prison.
That's where we draw the line.
You cannot seduce.
Against the law, go to jail.
Or like, I don't even know if like it would be called like adultery or whatever, but like still.
Straight to jail.
Right.
Okay, murder.
But I don't think she got any prison time, but he definitely did. Anyways, he serves 6 months of that and was released early on the condition that he would leave Dusseldorf.
I mean, to be fair, that is a stupid crime.
Considering the things he has done, yes.
Yes.
February 3rd, 1929, he stalked a woman named Apollonia Kuhn. He waited until she wasn't around anyone else, then grabbed her and dragged her into the bushes nearby. He then stabbed her 24 times with a pair of scissors.
Jeez.
And although many of those were so deep they actually struck her bones, she somehow survived.
Oh my gosh, 24 times.
Ouch.
February 8th, so this is just 5 days later, he strangled and killed 9-year-old Rosa Ollinger.
I hate him.
February 13th, 5 days later again, he murders 45-year-old Rudolf Scheer, a man, stabbing him 20 times, mostly in the head, back, and eyes.
Is that the first man?
That we know of, yes.
Okay.
Except for the 9-year-olds. The boys. In
Right,
the lake.
when he was like 13, yeah.
Yeah. After the body was discovered, he came back to the scene to talk to police about what was going on. Like, oh, what's happening? Did somebody get murdered?
You always suspect the person who's closest to the case.
Yeah, I feel like that's a thing, too, that murderers do.
Yeah, they like to be involved.
They like to go to vigils and things like that.
Oh, what happened here?
Yeah.
What?
I was just walking down the road and I saw that you were here. What happened?
Or they participate in looking for the body.
Yes.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
August 11th, he sexually assaults, strangles, and stabbed a woman named Maria Hahn. He had initially met her after arranging to take her on a date. He buried her in a cornfield, but returned to it several weeks later with the intention of nailing her decomposing body to a tree to shock and horrify the public. He wasn't able to do this, though, because her, quote, remains were too heavy.
He wants like the attention of it.
He reburied her body.
Oh my gosh.
3 months after her murder, he sends an anonymous letter to the police confessing to the murder and saying that her remains were buried in a field. Police were able to locate her body on November 15th. So that happened later, but we're back in now August 21st.
Okay.
He randomly stabs 3 different people. All of them survive, and they tell the police that their attacker said nothing to them prior to stabbing.
None of them are able to like identify him?
No, they just know that it's a man. And it just happened so quick, and he's randomly stabbing these people.
Wow.
3 days later, he encounters 2 foster sisters, aged 5 and 14. He sends the 14-year-old to get him cigarettes, then strangles and murders the 5-year-old.
Oh.
When the 14-year-old returns, he strangled and stabbed her. But this is where he is getting his nickname. So again, trigger warning again, he bit her neck and sucked the blood from her wounds.
Because he's the Vampire of Dusseldorf.
I was going to ask you what his nickname was again, because I already forgot.
He's the Vampire of Dusseldorf. The next day, he asks a 27-year-old woman named Gertrude Schulte to have sex with him. And when she refused, he said, quote, well, die then, unquote, before stabbing her repeatedly.
Okay.
That escalated quickly.
Someone cannot take rejection.
She somehow survived, but was unable to provide investigators with much information.
How are none of these people able to identify him?
I don't know. The only thing I can think of is just like so traumatic that they can't process it, maybe.
But I mean, he has left several people alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Several.
Is he like behind every single one of them? Is he always wearing a mask?
Is he always
in,
masked?
like maybe he's
No.
got your green cloak on? Are
Is
you?
You are giving vampire vibes.
I am over 100 years old. You guys have figured it out.
You look amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is your secret?
Collagen
Oh.
and Botox.
Okay, well, die then. That's where we were before he stabbed her repeatedly.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
Wow. Strong words.
From Peter, not from me.
Peter is he's not a pumpkin eater. He's something else.
It's a vampire.
Yeah. As if these attacks are not brutal enough, he now moves on to a different weapon of choice. A hammer. September 30th, he meets 31-year-old Ida Reuter and convinces her to spend the evening with him, going to a cafe and taking a stroll by the river. Once isolated, he strikes her repeatedly with the hammer and sexually assaults her.
He must be like pretty charismatic to be able to get all these women alone.
Probably. Yeah.
That's what I'm imagining.
Also, he's still married.
Yeah, but listen, he's killing people left and right. I don't think he cares about the
No,
vows
I know,
of
but like,
matrimony.
don't you think his wife kind of wonders
Well,
what's
also,
going
like,
on?
yeah, what is she doing? And is she
Yeah.
concerned?
Yeah,
I do not know. October 11th, almost the exact same thing happens to a girl named Elizabeth Durier. October 25th, he attacks 2 women, but they survive. And some think maybe they survived because his hammer did break during the attack.
That doesn't sound like a good thing, though.
No, it doesn't. November 7th, 1929, he comes across 5-year-old Gertrude Alberman.
5?
I hate this so much.
He convinces the child to go with him and then murders her by strangling her and then going back to his old MO using scissors to stab her. He was eventually caught after a woman who he had invited over to his apartment survived his attack and led investigators to his apartment.
Oh my gosh, it's about time that somebody who survived was
Yes.
like, hey, look.
I might have missed that, but did he have a separate apartment? Or is that where he lived with his wife?
That's where he lived with his wife.
And he invited somebody over?
Yes.
Okay.
She was probably at work. He wasn't home, though, when they showed up, but he did confess to his wife that he was actually the Vampire of Dusseldorf and was later arrested at gunpoint after she called and informed the police.
Good job, wife.
Yeah.
He admitted to 9 murders and 31 attempted murders without any attempt to excuse what he had done.
31 attempted?
He's
Yes.
just like, I did it.
Yeah, he did.
That's
He was
insane.
like, yeah, yep, that was me. No excuse. He admitted to drinking the blood from the throat of one victim, from the temple of another, and licking the blood from another's hands. He said that he had so much blood from the neck wound that he vomited after. Disgusting.
I hate this.
During his trial, he initially pled not guilty by reason of insanity, then fairly quickly changed his verdict to guilty, stating, quote, "I have no remorse. As to whether recollection of my deeds make me feel ashamed, I will tell you that thinking back to all the details is not at all unpleasant. I rather enjoy it."
Good. I'm glad he didn't even try and do insanity.
Listen, we don't have the bedwetting, but I'm going to go ahead and call it.
We might have, but we'll never know, because he
We'll
probably
never know.
shared the bed with several siblings.
He
Yeah.
blamed it on his
Yeah.
siblings.
We're
Yeah.
going to call it.
The trial lasted 10 days, and he was found guilty and sentenced to death. July 1st, 1931, he received his last meal of, any guesses, in Germany?
Wiener Schnitzel.
The Wiener Schnitzel.
You got it.
A bottle of wine and fried potatoes.
Oh, not beer?
Bottle of wine. He
You
even
were
asked for
right.
seconds.
Good job.
I love fried potatoes.
July 2nd, he was beheaded via the guillotine in Cologne, Germany. Right before he kneeled down, he asked the psychiatrist, quote, "Tell me, after my head is chopped off, will I still be able to hear, at least for a moment, the sound of my own blood gushing from the stump of my neck? That would be the pleasure to end all pleasures."
Sure.
Okay, gross, Peter.
I mean, we did talk about recently how people are conscious for a few seconds after.
Yeah, no, he was hoping for that.
Yeah, but that is weird. That
He
that was his
wanted
last
to
thought.
see his own blood
He wanted to hear his own blood.
and hear it. Yeah. Gross.
Yeah.
He was a sick individual.
He really was. After his death, his brain was studied in an attempt to explain his behavior, but they found no abnormalities. A few fun facts. He was interviewed.
Wow.
He's dead now.
Had been interviewed. Let me rephrase that. By Carl Berg in 1930 and 1931.
Wow.
And this was the first psychological study of a sexual serial killer and was the basis of Berg's book called The Sadist. Peter Kürten's head is now on display at Ripley's Believe It or Not in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin.
Why in Wisconsin?
I have no
He's
idea.
from Germany.
Ooh, Munster.
Cheese.
Yeah.
Cheese. Okay.
Checks out. He was fucked up, man. I can't believe we hadn't heard of him, to be honest with you.
I have not heard of him.
He's one of the worst.
He's one of the worst. He's kind of up there with, who is it? Fish? Albert Fish?
Which one was Albert Fish?
We haven't talked about him yet. Yeah. Well, anyhow, there you go.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Genuine.
People are
The worst.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get out of Germany next time.
We have given you full permission. We've released you from Germany.
Thank you.
You can go wherever you want in the world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in this week to our true crime episode. You can always find us at thetipsyghost.com with our socials linked from there, or send us an email at thetipsyghost@gmail.com.
Please give us a 5-star rating and a great review anywhere you listen to podcasts. We really appreciate it, and it really does help.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll catch you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.